Joined on Chamber Amplified now by Paul Hadde of Chick-fil-A here in Findlay. Paul, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Typically I'm going on shows like Rogan and stuff, but I decided to level up this time with
There you
guys.
go.
So I'm pretty excited for
I'm a
that.
much more handsome bald guy than Joe Rogan these days.
Absolutely. He loves listening to your show. That's what he told me.
Yeah, although I think he can beat me in a powerlifting competition. So
Yeah, you can't be the best at everything.
no, that's true. It's good to know your limitations. Paul, we were talking a little bit before we started recording, and as I was preparing for this, I kind of got to thinking. We just a few months ago we had Sherry Gardner Brumbaugh on to talk about how local businesses can give back to the community and how they go about it and everything. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on to talk about it is I think sometimes there's a disconnect in the community. People see your national brand in Chick-fil-A, and sometimes maybe they don't equate it to what's happening locally. And that can happen not just for you, but for several area franchises that are quite involved in the community. So before we get all into that, though, let's just talk about how you came to be involved with Chick-fil-A. Certainly, you've been here in Findlay for a while now, but what was the journey like to that point?
Yeah, I'll give you the short story. I was a super picky eater and got a job across from Chick-fil-A. My brother's like, you got to check it out. First time I ever had I had an 8-count nugget, cookies and cream shake, and waffle fry. And I was like, man, that's really good. And then I would always go in on my break from that other job. And what I loved about it is it felt like a vacation. I was like, these people treat you really nicely, but never really thought about working in food. But as I learned more about the company and why they were so nice, I think it was my freshman year in college, my mom read an article. It was only $5,000 to get your own franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to own my own business, never had a great idea. $5,000 coming from a guy whose family wasn't wealthy. I was obviously a college student. I wasn't wealthy. That was pretty exciting. And then that next year, I had the opportunity to meet a franchisee. He was 26 years old, owned his own restaurant in the Cleveland area. And he took the time to sit down and talk with me. And so that started my Chick-fil-A career. So that would have been December of 2009. Started out as a regular team member, scrubbing the toilets, putting truck away, taking orders, definitely not in that order. And I was amazed that it was the same behind the scenes as it was in front. You know what I mean? The way we were treated by the owner, it was amazing. And so I kept that job all through college, graduated in 3.5 years from Baldwin-Wallace University, and then was trying to decide what I was going to do when I graduated. So I asked Patrick, do you think I'd have a shot at being an owner-operator? He said yes. So I was going to be graduating in December, getting married in February. And so I decided to pursue it. So as you can imagine, my in-laws were really thrilled that I got a college degree and went to go pursue fast food. So fast forward a year, Patrick had left to go change his franchise from the Cleveland area to Indianapolis. I worked for a different local operator. And then my wife worked for First Energy at the time, and they announced layoffs. So this would have been 2012. She got an opportunity at Marathon where her sister worked. And so we prayed about it. Everything felt right. We ended up making the jump, and I thought the Chick-fil-A dream was over. I just wasn't on track for that. So actually I worked at the Menards down the road from my restaurant right now before coming on with Speedway. And so it was, I think, 2 years with Speedway. And then I got a call from that old operator I worked for. He said, hey, with everything you've been doing with that, I think that you should apply. And also that town that you said would be great for a Chick-fil-A, Findlay, is on the map. And that was from my first application to the end was 2.5 years, 11 different interviews before finally being selected to come back to Findlay and open up that restaurant in 2018.
I remember it well. You guys brought some samples over to the radio stations when I was working them. That was a good morning of radio, if I recall right.
It was a good time. That was a wild, wild grand opening. Everybody was shocked, even at Chick-fil-A.
I tell you what, we'll delve into what we're going to talk about here in a second. But obviously, the second Chick-fil-A is almost open here on the other side of town, on the west side of town, as we record this. That's coming up on March 4th is the grand opening for it.
March 5th.
March 5th is the grand opening for it. See, that's why I
That's right. We're ribbon cutting the day before.
That's okay. That's what I had in my head. So there you go. So I get a sneak preview, everybody.
There you go.
What's up? So you've already opened one, and now you're ready to open the second one. This is another thing we were talking a little bit about. what has been the processes that you've learned? What's been the more difficult one to open or more challenging?
Yeah, I mean, I think your first is always going to be the most challenging, but Chick-fil-A provides a ton of support to operators. So that first one, they sent a whole team out to help us open that restaurant. So I had 2 grand opening supervisors who that's their whole job was opening restaurants. And then that built up to 4. And then we had over 30 trainers come in for the first week. And so there was a lot of things they took care of that I didn't even realize. So big thanks to them. Actually, every single one of them has gotten their own Chick-fil-A restaurant
Oh,
from
wow.
that program, which is a cool little fact there. And so they're all doing really well. But yeah, so they take care of a lot. Now I don't have that benefit, but I have the benefit of experience. So there's, things I'm just learning along the way. I'm sure there's a couple things we'll miss, but we're going to get this bad boy open, and we're going to go and get better from day one on, and we're really excited for it.
I cannot wait, and it's going to be huge for you. So let's get into the meat of what we were talking about today, or I guess the chicken of today.
The poultry,
the protein of today's meal is what we'll get into. So, like we said, sometimes when people see the national brand, they don't equate it to what it is locally. So for people who may not understand the difference, let's talk a little bit about how a franchise operates and then what that frees you up to do locally in the community.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say unique, but we're pretty close to a unique franchise. So most Chick-fil-A operators only have one restaurant.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm fortunate to have gotten a second location. So Truett Cathy's vision was local ownership. So he wasn't looking for investment partners. So for instance, if you want to own a McDonald's, I think you have to have a net worth of $1 million, find the land, build the building. It's a lot more expensive to get into. And so ultimately what happens is most people end up building that up over time, and they have a whole suite of at least one franchise. Sometimes they branch out into other ones. But you do have people who also are operators too in their restaurants. So I can think of a few, you know what I mean? Not only myself, but you have Danielle Doxey, who does a great job at Culver's and is engaged in the community. Brian Edler, he continues to grow his Domino's business. He does a great job in the community. I think Heavenly Pizza is now franchising. Everybody knows Josh and the great things he's doing. And then Scott Ball, even next door, he's operating a few McDonald's locally, and they all work to have an impact. And so you get the benefit in a franchise of a known commodity. Like I said, I always wanted to own a business, never had a great idea for it, right? Because Chick-fil-A has a great name and a great brand, it helps me do what I can do well, which is run restaurant operations, be able to market in a community without having to build up that brand equity, right? If it was Paul's Chicken Shack, we wouldn't nearly be able to have the impact that we have now, right? Because I'd have to refine a lot of things. We wouldn't have the purchasing power that a franchise gives you. So it gives you a lot of different opportunities. Now, that said, that all comes at a cost. But I would say definitely for me, I would not be where I am and able to have the level of impact that I have without Chick-fil-A and the Cathy family, who I'm very grateful for.
Obviously, that's something that goes all the way up the chain, like you said, to Truett Cathy in that local community involvement. But that's something that I think spoke to you when you first got it in Chick-fil-A. How have you been able to put that in action here in Findlay since you got started?
Yeah, it's funny. I tell people I was really excited when I thought overall about the experience of running the business. I thought a lot primarily about team members and growing and developing them. And then obviously I love hospitality and serving customers. It was the community impact that I really didn't have a sense of because I grew up in a very middle-class family in Cleveland in a large city. And so there was no expectation from a charity aspect or anything like that. We just had busy lives. You wouldn't necessarily know your neighbor out there. And so coming here, I've had the opportunity to very quickly see the impact that you can have. And so it's actually become my favorite thing that I get to do. So for instance, very early on, we got hooked up with the Big Shake. So Janine Baker, when she was at Findlay City Schools, Pam Hamlin had heard my story. She said, "Hey, I think this would be a great opportunity to sponsor a scholarship for some of these students who go through the Big Shake." And so, getting to go see how that program was run, where we're teaching, 3rd through 5th graders soft skills and the remarkable way that these kids, can communicate effectively. it was kind of a natural partnership with our brand and the hospitality that we bring. And so being able to get involved with that, starting in 2019 all the way through now, and all the schools, it seems like in the county are doing it, all the city schools are doing it. So that's really cool. Another thing that, again, I grew up in the city. The first year I got here, I started getting letters from kids and they're like, "Hey, will you buy my rabbits?" Okay. And I was like, I don't know what the heck this is. And so I would get them periodically. And then I think it was 2020 or 2021, the Lynch family moved in from California. They've been a great add to the community, and they're really involved in 4-H. And so I got a letter from them, and I said, "Hey, I've been getting these. What are these?" And they explained the whole county fair process, how the students in 4-H raise animals, and then they sell them kind of at like a charity auction. So I was able to be educated with that, and be able to participate, which has been a lot of fun for me, and then now I have to explain to people at like Chick-fil-A Inc. when they're like, "I don't understand. You spent X, thousands of dollars on some cows, a pig, some chickens and stuff. What is this?" And I'm like, no. It's not real. This is like a charity, like advertising thing, which has been a lot of fun. But there's just so many great opportunities, and you can see your influence, locally. And so that's been a real treat for me.
And when it comes down to it, and this is something we talked to with Sherry as well, is there, I think maybe there's a different set of expectations. People say, like, "Oh, Chick-fil-A, that's a huge national brand. They should be able to give to everything." And I think you probably want to give to everything, but there's obviously a budget line item and things like that that you have to be mindful of. If you were giving advice to other businesses who are maybe looking to get started in this aspect, how do you help them narrow down their field of focus when it comes to their involvement in the community?
Yeah, that was honestly a big shocker to me when we first started out, was like the volume of requests, and they come from everywhere. And you want to help everybody out,
Mhm.
but ultimately what we arrived on is we need to dial in our focus, right? So we primarily have a focus on children, students, and organizations that are adjacent to that. Not to say we would never do anything else, but we like to pick something and then go deep with it. So we're really involved in the school systems. We're really involved with Women's Resource Center, so helping, what I mean, mothers in a vulnerable situation. We love to partner with them, but we really want to go deep with specific organizations rather than just try and piecemeal everything out, and then people know we're committed for support here or maybe not there. I have like a blanket, like I don't do golf outings because everybody has a golf outing. And so it's like it could get really tough about which one will I do this year or that year. And so you really have to pick a focus area, and that'll give you clarity, because you feel bad when you can't help everyone. But if you have a clear understanding of where you're headed, I think that makes it easier, not only for you, but for organizations when you tell them no.
Yeah, absolutely. Having those guidelines and the guardrails up before you even start in that process probably makes it probably not only a little bit less of a headache, but you're going to have a more clear impact when you drill down on the things that you're truly passionate about, and things that you feel like you can have an impact on in the community. So I think that's very strong advice. You also talked about it's an opportunity for you to help develop workforce, help develop a kid their first job. Like you said, Chick-fil-A is a lot of people first jobs. You mentioned Scott Ball with McDonald's. That's a lot. I mean, I forget what the stat is, how many people's first job was
Yeah.
out of McDonald's, but it's way up there in the nation. How big of a responsibility do you see that as, one, just as a person, but as a franchisee, and knowing that you have this national brand and some of these development programs that come along with that? How big of a thing is that on your plate?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things for me, specifically with the Chick-fil-A brand, because we do have a strong brand amongst parents. Parents will say, "I want my kid to work at Chick-fil-A because of the values that they have and the ability they have to teach kids hospitality and to be able to engage with people." And so if we don't live up to those standards and we create an environment that is not appropriate for 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, we're going to lose that. And so I obviously take that seriously. We're by no means a perfect workplace, right? But I do want to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable and everyone can grow in the best way that they can. But I think the service industry in particular, it's just so crucial to get jobs early. But I like service jobs because you're always going to have to interact with people
Mhm.
in service jobs. And so if you have experience on the other side of that, it really frames a lot of future interactions in your life. And also too, that like kindness that you kind of have to show to everybody is applicable in every business you could be in. I mean, maybe there's one not, maybe if you're just, doing some drop shipping business on the internet, I don't know, maybe you don't need that. But most of the time you're going to have to interact with people, and it's going to help you out dramatically the earlier you get out. I tell people all the time, I say, I get up and I talk in front of groups all the time now. But when I didn't really, I couldn't talk to people, or I'm sorry, I couldn't even order my own food until I was 15 years old. Eventually, once you want to start dating girls, you got to order your own food, right? So I had to like step out then. But my second job, so the job where I ended up liking Chick-fil-A was at a pet store. I got that job in sales because I struggled to talk to people. I get all red in the face. I just was very uncomfortable. And so I think your early jobs you should use to enhance skills that you'll use over the course of your life. And then if you have any fatal flaws like I did, being able to talk to people, you need to take this time that you have in your life and go out there and have some experiences that are going to allow you to be successful in the future.
I've always said that people should have to work either food service or retail for a little bit, and the world would be a better place. It sounds like you're on board with that.
Absolutely. Come work at Chick-fil-A. It's a great place.
I've done both, and there's a reason why I'm not arbitrarily mean to people because
Yes.
you get that back at you sometimes when you work that. But it's like you said, it's a great way to learn how to talk to people and handle those types of situations. It really goes a long way, especially in your formative years too.
Oh, yeah.
One thing with I mean, we're not old guys by any means, Paul, but when
I'm getting there, man. Yeah. I'm surprised, it comes fast.
Yeah, as soon as we get done recording this, I'm going to have physical therapy on my elbow because apparently I golfed too much over the summer, and that's still impacting me here in February. So, yay to aging.
Yeah, that's good though. Hey, it's a good way to get the injury though. You have to rehab it too with some golf though, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to make sure everything's
Yeah,
working right. So,
exactly.
Paul, as we wrap things up, if there's one thing that you wish the general public knew a little bit more when it comes to a franchise and how it operates within the local business environment, what would that be?
Yeah, I think that it is that many of us, in fact, most of us within the franchise business or even like the big chains are local business owners. Our kids go to school with you. We support organizations within your community, and we want to see Findlay grow and thrive, right? So, I absolutely am all about shop local, but we are certainly a local business, and we appreciate all the support we've had. Obviously, we're fortunate to be able to bring a second location here. And I look forward to impacting Findlay, helping Findlay grow for many years to come.
There you go. Paul, thanks for joining us. March 5th is the grand opening for the West Side Chick-fil-A in Findlay. Looking forward to that. Have a great day.
My pleasure. Have a great one.